Hey everyone, this is Olay from Laddering Your Success, and you're listening to the LYS Podcast. All righty, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all across the world. Happy Sunday, happy Sunday. Welcome to another Sunday of LYS Free Student Mentoring. As always, I am Olayinka Shorunke here with my good friend Festus and Olay, here with my other good friend, Mr. Daniel Hill. How y'all doing today?
Hey. You know, the little club. Trying to match Olay's energy. I'm good, man. I'm good. It's good to be here with you fellas and those who are joining us from Facebook Nation, from, just our live channel nation. It's good to be here. It's good to be here and good to be seen. What's going on with you, Dame?
Same old, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up. That's what's up. Go ahead.
Sorry, Festus. Sorry. Go.
No, I was gonna say that Philly Connect energy, is that like a sandwich club or is that I'm messing with you?
I got to log out of that, man. I'm over here using the wrong information, man. I'm about to get in trouble.
Nah, you good.
Yeah, for sure, man. Quick shout out to you. You kind of mentioned it earlier, man. Quick shout out to United Nations. You know what I mean? Stankonia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to do my favorite Chappelle show. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Let me go over this. Let me go over that stuff. But I had a good week. How was your week? How was everyone's week?
Yeah, for me, it was really good. Had some pretty important meetings that I was able to get accomplished. Really just trying to maintain focus. And for me, it's always a mix of like trying to look 1, 3, and 5 years down the line, but then stay present in the moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as Brother Cleo always says, it's better to be, what do you say, directionally correct than precisely wrong. You know what I mean? And so it's always a balance, man. It's always a balance.
Absolutely. For sure. All right. So quickly, let me come in here and share what we got so we can talk about what we continue on our conversation from last week. Am I sharing? Yeah, I'm sharing.
Mm-hmm.
As always, folks, if you want to get in contact with us on Instagram, it's LYS Students. _LYS on Instagram. If you want to get in contact with us, take a look at any of our content on the Instagram platform. On Facebook, it's going to be Laddering Your Success. Laddering Your Success. Just type that in the search bar and you'll get access again to all of our content, anything that we're putting out there, any news, anything important that you need to know. If we have a thing that we're doing online on Zoom, you get quick access to all of those things. Okay. On YouTube, Laddering Your Success. We got some cool stuff there. TikTok. I'll say it again. You know what I'm going to say. TikTok, we're coming for you. Have y'all seen that video of that guy who's like, Sunday, then Sunday goes into Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Monday to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
He has like a whole, it's like a Vietnamese dude or some dude just kind of off in the Asian wilderness. So he has this whole thing where he started off with just counting. So he was like 1 and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then, so it was like some kind of R&B counting thing. And it was just hilarious, man. Hilarious.
Yeah. I love it, man. LYSB no do on TikTok. If you want to send us an email, if you would like to inquire on Laddering Your Success for your workshop, to come to your schools, to talk to your students, to come to your church, to come to your gathering of your youth or young people, to go to a college, info@ladderingyoursuccess.com is where you need to go. Discord coming soon. Really excited about the Discord platform and the opportunities that it brings for us, being able to engage with young people, because that's one of the main groups of people that we are geared, right? That a lot of our energy and a lot of our products and resources are geared towards. And on Cash App, if you like what you see, if you know anything about us, if you've watched us for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, if you watched the whole session and you've seen anything good in what we've done, and you see us trying to live what we teach and what we preach, $ Laddering Your Success on Cash App, give us $1, give us $2. If you are compelled, we will not fight you if you are compelled to give us $1,000, $2,000. $3,000, $4,000. We ain't going to use your money. We're not going to use it on ourselves, promise. We're going to use it to push forward this mission and this beautiful thing that was created to help so many people. Okay. So last week, we talked about some questions. Why are they building all these school districts? I'm sorry, all these schools in my district. Why are they building all these schools in my district? And we talked about basically public schools, where they get their funding from, right? So if you happen to miss last week, we talked about basically the machine, right, that creates a lot of the funding for public schools, local, state, and federal government, from the local, from the state, from the federal government. But we also talked about charter schools and communities and how they kind of pull where they get their funds from, and how and what exactly a charter school is. Okay. And we talked about this ongoing debate that you've probably been hearing a lot about, right? Public schools versus charter schools. Okay. Festus, I went kind of fast on that. Is there anything that we should kind of recap before we kind of continue on and jump further?
No, I think you did a great job. Tap in. Let's hop right into this thing.
Okay. So if we look at this picture here, we've got some folks here who look kind of frustrated. They look kind of overwhelmed. They look kind of stressed. You know, we always talk about our three main stakeholders, or the three groups of people that we really want to help. And that would be educators, parents, and teachers. Sorry, educators, parents, and students. And so as we look here, I really think that you could say all three, even though these are mostly adults we're looking at, are all adults here. You could say all three of the groups of people that we serve kind of are going through these things, or at one point in their life, in the last year or two or three, have done something that we're looking at here. But for this particular moment, I would like to focus on the educator portion. I want to focus on the educator portion because it kind of encompasses all three. One of the reasons I love being an educator is because I still have a joy of learning new things. And the reason I love learning new things is because as I learn these new things, I can teach them to these young kids, right? So think about it. You know, I'm 36 years old, and if I learn something and I can teach it to a 10, 11, 12-year-old, they're getting 20 years, 24 years or something ahead. Does that kind of make sense of the game? That kind of helps them grow. And I always tell my students, and you're going to hear me say this a lot if you've listened to, like, you know, multiple episodes of this cast, is I always tell the students, do you think I want you to be where I'm at, or do you think I want you to be greater or better than where I'm at when you get to be my age? And they always say better. And I'm like, absolutely, I want you to be better. I don't want you to be low. I don't want you to be right where I'm at. I want you to be better. And so everything that we put into these young people, everything we put into our parents, right, needs to be to help them grow to a certain extent. And I say certain extent, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? But that's part of the reason why I have this picture here. If teachers are stressed, if teachers are overworked, teachers are dealing with depression, anxiety, if they're dealing with constant from the people around them at the school, from their admin, from their specialists, from, you know, all these different groups and things, it kind of takes away the joy of teaching. And I'm so thankful that Festus kind of introduced me to Ray Dalio, and I was looking and I was watching this. I think Festus knows when something really speaks to me, because I'll call him and I'll ask very poignant questions. You notice that, Festus?
100%. That's the whole point of brotherhood, is to know when you know somebody's going through something, and like kind of, again, what's just poignant and speaks to that sense of pain or to that need, you know. So absolutely. So, you know, and I was just asking them questions about it, and the reason why I say that is because as I look at these teachers, I'm reminded of civilizations. I'm reminded of great empires. I am reminded of cultures that have reigned and that have done, as they say, great exploits, right? They've, you know, made great advancements in things like farming
agriculture, irrigation, science, technology, business, finance, psychology, sociology, architecture. The list goes on and on and on, right? Some of the correlations that you will see in all of these different empires and great civilizations of the past is the deep need for education and the deep investment in young people. The deep investment in young people and the deep investment in education.
100%. 100%.
And go ahead, Festus, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna tell a story
Absolutely.
about one of my professors I feel really close to. We haven't talked, pandemic slowed a lot of communication down. But anyway, he was into woodworking. And for me, that's something I always kind of wanted to get into, you know what I'm saying? Was like, I love like the whole creative aspect of it, of like you took some raw materials and you turned it into something useful. And so I'm always watching like weird TV shows like that and stuff, where it's like, Naked and Afraid, or, you know what I mean? Like this, like stuff that you're like, why wouldn't somebody watch this? And, he should calls it my hillbillies. She's like, there you go with your hillbillies. Because I'm always watching like this weird stuff. So the interesting thing was in this relationship, did you go with me once, Olay, to Professor Lou's house? Professor Lou's house?
Ooh, I helped you. There was a professor who lived right across the street from HBU. I helped him move.
No, that was a different. So obviously I hung out with a lot of these guys. So Professor Lou, anyway, long story short, it was a couple things. One, I was watching this show called, what was the name of the show? Where they take trash and then they put it in. Flea Market Flip is the name of the show. Flea Market Flip. I know people are like, what, the black dude watch Flea Market? Yeah, just because I'm black and from the hood don't mean I watch stuff, you know what I'm saying? So long story short, Flea Market Flip, they took this ladder and made it a bookcase. And obviously laddering your success, and we got the steps of education. I'm like, yo, like that's what I'm about. So anyway, and I'm gonna have to show you all this ladder in a second. As a matter of fact, for those of you in Facebook world, there it goes over there. But anyway, so I wanted to build this, and I'm like, yo, I have no clue. Will you help me? And so he helped me to build that and put together. I was like, just like in awe of that moment. And I learned so much in that process of building. But anyway, long story short, he has a relatively small garage. And so in order to put the wood up, he had made this little contraption. And when I looked at it, I was like, man, that's interesting. And he goes, yeah, that is a design from like the 14th century. So like 1300s, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, that's how they used the pressure of, the wood leaning against it to hold itself up. So he has like hundreds of pounds being held up by like this little thing. And bro, when I say I wanted to bop myself in the head, because it's like, think about architecture, think about design, and like Professor Lou, he's so dope. I just love him because of his creativity. I mean, he's authored several books. He's getting his PhD. I think he's already completed his PhD. He's an artist. He's so many different things. But anyway, watching this little design from, what now it's like 900 years ago, or 800 years ago, 700 and some odd years ago, and it's like, that is lost knowledge on most people. And as you're talking about, the students and loving learning, like now me and his professor-student relationship is kind of over, right? I graduated from college. He's off teaching elsewhere. But because of the relationship and his continued love for learning, right? And my curiosity, it brought me to learn how to make this bookshelf, but it also taught me some lost knowledge that most people just won't know about. And I'm like, dude, that is so dope. And just imagine, and this is the thing that I'll bring it home with this, is for young men and young women who are growing up in these environments where knowledge is not shared as much. And like you said, you brought 20 years of experience based off of what you knew for this new piece of information that you learned. But now think about all the lost knowledge and the more you study, and then that coming to the table. You see what I'm saying? So, and I say all this, and I'll kind of close out with this is, a lot of people say, oh, college is overrated. Learning is not overrated. And college puts the environment together to share learning. Now, this is where I think it is messed up, is that you keep putting young people with other young people, right? Instead of putting them with people 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years their senior, where they can say, hey, look, I know this stuff from 100 years ago. Bro, last thing, I met an actual sharecropper. And he was a white sharecropper, which I didn't even know they had white sharecroppers. And I'm like, bro, this dude is like living history. And anyway, so I'm gonna close with that. But you just reminded me of so much stuff, just thinking about that input of different learning environments. So please continue. You're muted.
Thank you. Absolutely, man. That's so true. I'm sorry. I'm over here. I'm trying to put our link on Hapsy.
It's done already. It's done.
Oh, is it? I'm so sorry. Well,
yeah. What?
Let's see if I can exit.
We'll talk about it later.
Don't get it twice. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So you reminded me on Friday. I was with my students, and I'm so fascinated. I keep bringing up this project that I did. It was so awesome because my parents' house, right? We modeled my parents' house, and the reason why I was so fascinated by it is because I was like, we're in 2022. Yet we're in 2022, yet we're still doing construction, right? We still need people to build things, right? You still need electricians and plumbers, and you need all these things. And it's just so fascinating to me. The most simple trick, right? Just putting drywall in the corners, like little tricks that people had that I saw on YouTube was just fascinating to me. Because like you said, these are things that we never know.
Bro, and it's so powerful that you say that, because one of the things that they're talking about in terms of is going to be a major area of need is these skills and trades. And so it's so powerful that you said that.
Yes, absolutely, man. And so that's what I do with my students, because we were going over conductors and insulators. And so I literally drew a house and I showed like the electrical wiring of a house. And I pointed, I was like, guys, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
Wow.
There are people who, I told them, I paid a dude $200 for 45 minutes. I paid him $200 for 45 minutes. He came in, he put a new line. He was like, all right, 180. Give me my money, please.
100%. And this is the thing, and this is why I'm for the charter schools, private schools, going in at a younger age and being able to teach some of these trades. Because part of the great debate right now is that, has knowledge been so specialized and commodified that students are no longer able to say, I know a lot about a lot, or I know a few things about a wide variety of things. Now it's like, oh, you need to be doctorate, PhD specialist, or else you know nothing.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
It's just not true. Like, think about that. Like, and this is the thing that really bothers me. It bothers me to almost no end, because a lot of these students don't think that they have a future, and they go to school, they're sick and tired of learning the standards and things like that. And because there's not this rich dialogue of, hey, there's a lot of things you could do once you have knowledge, once you have purpose, once you have meaning, and you could take this and apply it in different ways. Because there's not these rich dialogues that are happening. And again, we're seeing it happen when we work with U of H students and these different students, where they're just like, huh, what? I didn't know I could do all this, because that knowledge isn't there of saying, hey, look, you can apply this in different ways. And now, because you have a skill set, you can go out and say, okay, I'm going to travel 30 minutes to a job. I'm going to work 45 minutes on the job. And then I'm pretty much done with that job for the day. Wait a second. Because I've 45 minutes on the job, 30 minutes to job. I'm an hour, 15 minutes in. You're telling me I could do 4 to 5 jobs in a day, $200 a pop. I can make $1,000 in a day. And I could just do that with a basic high school education plus a certificate in, in plumbing, plus a certificate in computer skill. So this is why I'm a very big advocate for as many learning environments as possible. But I think the hard part is how are these students going to find those learning environments? How are they going to hone in and say, hey, that's the one for me, especially when adults are playing politics, right? Of like, you need to go to public school because the public school is, the school of choice because of the fact that I need a 6-figure job. And if you're not in public school, then I can't get a 6-figure job. Like, come on, what are we doing here? But Olay, please.
Yes, I think you said a lot, man. I think you said a lot right there. I got a question for everyone. Is it us as people becoming locked into the matrix, if you will, and just sort of becoming the Agent Smith, right? Letting the zeros and ones overtake you and you fall in. And the reason why I said it is because last week we talked about the importance of not compromising on your values, your principles, right? And it goes all in line with our be, no, do methodology. Be, what are your values? What are your principles? Know who are people around you who can show you these things, right? What are the resources around me that can show me these things? And how do you execute with excellence? And so are we compromising? I think, I'm saying the answer. We are obviously compromising way too much when it comes to our students. I've seen that way too many times. I've seen it way too many times where people who work, just higher up and, people who are like, in charge of like groups of teachers or whatever, they don't see the student. And, I told a friend this, and I've been saying this for the last week. Principals are not principals. Principals are managers. These days.
Talk that
talk. In 2022, principals are managers. Principals are managers. And at the end of the day, like the school that I work at it's not the name. It's a code. It's a number. It's a 3-digit, 4-digit code. And at the end of the day, it's like a business. You just have to make sure, is this school in the black? Is this school profitable? When we get scores and results, they don't see my student's first and last name. They see the ID number. They see the quantitative, information there. Not even the data, not even quantitative data, just the number, just the number, the ID number. And they say you are at this level, right? They don't know about the trauma that my child's dealt with. They don't know that my child didn't eat a meal last night. They don't know that their parent beat the kid last night. They don't know anything that's going on, but they know the student ID number and they know that the kid's at a 2nd grade level. And so that's why I had that picture of these teachers. Because we love what we do. We love our students. Educators love what they do. They love their job. Trust me. It may look like they don't love it, but there's a reason why they got into it. There's no better feeling than a student going, I get it, because you did that.
That's deep.
You know what I mean? You communicated knowledge, and that child took it, and now they're able to understand a concept that's going to better help them understand their world and environment around them. But you're telling me that, you're showing me their ID number, and you're saying this, that, and the third. I don't care. Boy, I do not care about that. I care about the kid at the end of the day. That's my only concern. I'm not worried about, and I get it, right? I totally get it, right? Because they're doing the state, what are those things? The grades, right? They're giving out the grades. Me, I don't even want Hill to say anything because me and Hill saw our grade, and we was like, oh, they must have changed the
rubric. They reduced the standards to a place that's comfortable for me to accomplish the task at hand.
Boy, they sent an email out. They were like, hey, we're on B school. And I was like, ooh. Who, us? Are we working at the same place? I put my head out the window. You're talking about your school or my school? Your school or my school? We work at this, like, you know, that Spider-Man? You, me? But that's exactly it. It's like, you know, they've got these, they're just putting all these things and they're changing all these things. And it really takes away from the essence of learning, the essence of why these students are here. And you know, as a passionate person who loves children and loves seeing people find their purpose in life and people fulfilling that purpose and doing well, you know, it really, really hurts to see the state that we're in. And so I kind of want to talk about how we got here. Is it going to get any better? What do we see in the future? Because I'll be honest, it does not seem, I see some light at the end of the tunnel, right? I feel like we all have an idea as to a really good solution, but I want to talk about, you know, because we live in Texas, and Texas is it's one or two, right, as far as population.
No,
right now,
no,
right?
so in terms of population density, we're probably fourth or fifth, but we're closely moving up, because states like Massachusetts had, you know, they have cities like Boston, right? That massive cities.
Super.
Yeah. So, but because so many people are migrating to Texas now from these other places, you have population booms in Austin, Wake, Dallas, Houston, that are quickly moving us up. And because those people are migrating out of Chicago's, California's, New York,
highly populated.
Correct. And so that's kind of where the population is in a major flux, because
major shift. Yeah.
I think we have had, I'm gonna say 13% growth year over year for like the last 10 years. And so you got places like New York they're losing tremendously number of people. But to your point, continue, please.
Well, you know, it's funny you mentioned that. I went online to this government website and I typed in my income, you know, as a teacher, all these things, just trying to see what kind of house I could afford. And I'm really proud to say that I could afford a large refrigerator box in New York. I'm very happy to say that.
Oh yeah, in New York, I mean, they just hit a record for a one bedroom. The average one bedroom, I think, is like $4,500 a month or something like that. So it's
per quarter.
What do you mean per quarter? No, per month. That you have to pay about $5,000 a month for one bedroom.
Like month, like 30 days?
30 days. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Hold on, bro. What you say? How much? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said how much?
Y'all got to follow this. Let me see if I could put it on the screen. Average rent.
That's a sin.
New York City. Yeah. See, let me boom. And then I'm a screen share for those who are watching.
That's one of my unsubsidized loans right now on Advantage.
Okay, it's $3,095 for a one bedroom, $3,645 for a two bedroom. And let me see. And this is based off a neighborhood. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So let's see.
We got two different definitions of
Flatiron. That's Flatiron District. That's $4,500 a month for a one bedroom. So
the hood is $1,700.
Yeah. So let's say if you go one bedroom,
it cost me $2,000 to stay in the hood.
Yeah.
I was like, what I look like doing? Hey, but you know, I looked and saw how much they made on their what's name. It wasn't that much. Minimum wage. I was like, man, hold on. Texas pay more minimum wage than them. So why did?
So
it was crazy.
This is the thing. A couple different layers, and I don't want to get too far off into this. And there's a big debate now about, you know, democratically run cities, quote unquote, democratically run cities versus Republican run cities. And in a lot of these major cities, they have certain things like rent control, which rent control, they have different types of rent control and different types of elements. So for example, one form of rent control in New York is like a legacy rent. So let's say, for example, you stay in an apartment with your parents, you can continue to get the same rent that your parents paid as long as you stay in that apartment. Well, that's fine and dandy to some degree. Why do I say to some degree? Because what ends up happening is you get wear and tear on a building. And so let's say you're saying, okay, there's 1% or 2% cost of living adjustment type thing. If that doesn't keep up with the cost of maintaining that unit, you end up in a slum. And that's where a lot of these quote unquote hoods end up becoming hoods, because they are not able to gentrify. And this is why, to me, when people talk about gentrification, I think it's a mixed bag. And why do I say it's a mixed bag? I say it's a mixed bag because it keeps the hood the hood. You know what I'm saying? So if the people who are living there aren't going to transform it, aren't going to manage it, right, then it's going to stay a hood environment. And what does that mean? It means a lot in regard to these schools, right? Because if you have people who aren't taking out of their time and energy and money and investing back into these schools, then the mindset of the people living in that community is not going to change, and therefore the community is not going to change. So it becomes a vicious cycle when you think about these schools and investing in these schools, right? Is, okay, if this new charter school moves into this neighborhood and it injects a fresh vibe, a fresh energy, a fresh way of looking at education into this neighborhood, then there's a possibility that that neighborhood could then change and transform so that you can keep or you can fight off things like gentrification. You see what I'm saying? Olay, you're saying something. Go ahead.
No. I was just mouthing maintaining sustainability.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? And that's the thing, a lot of people talk about how great America is. And I believe America is great. And I think there's fantastic aspects to America. And one of the big aspects is the diversity. And what does that mean? It means that literally the ideas in your head are going to get challenged from the moment you wake up. Literally from the moment you wake up, because of all the marketing and all the messages and all this stuff, the idea of who you are and what you want to do is going to be challenged from the moment you wake up. And that's why it's critically important for students to have strong purpose and identity, right? Because as it is challenged, you are going to sharpen who you are and improve your skill set if you really know who you are and you have a strong purpose, right? But when you don't have a strong purpose and identity, as the scriptures say, you're tossed to and fro by every form of doctrine, by every form of teaching. And this is the problem with, feeling it. This is the problem with sustainability in education, in communities. If you don't know who you are, how can you sustain? Because this is why relationships are so important. Marriage is so important, and different types of things like that. Is the sustainability factor decreases when you flip and flop. Why? Because again, we talked about this knowledge and learning. If you know history, or whatever it is from the 1500s till now, today, and this is why a lot of colleges and universities are really important, which a lot of people don't really look at this aspect of PhDs and dissertations and why those things are so important, right? Because if you go into colleges, they actually have sections of the dissertations that have been written over time. And so you can see how these ideas are linked and interlinked over time and how they've developed. That is key. That is very powerful, right? And you don't really need to go to college in order to study that stuff. You just need to be able to know how to read and have a lot of curiosity. And this is where, again, having access to public libraries and books and stuff becomes so important. But I don't want to get too far off topic because, I just be, I'd be so on fire. But go ahead, brothers.
No, absolutely, man. It's all very poignant. Daniel, did you have anything you wanted to say? I know Festus brought up some really good points there.
Philly connect. Philly roll. No, I'm just I'm joking.
So,
What'd you say, bro? My bad. I'm over trying to back up.
Oh, no worries. I was just asking if you had anything to say from what Festus was saying.
Yeah, I was like, Reverend Festus over here breaking it down. But no, that is interesting, man. Like.
I think we lost you going in and out.
His bandwidth is low. Yeah, it's all good. So, Festus, actually, it's funny you said that because you brought up a really good point there as you were talking. You said, if you
not
don't
actually,
know,
huh?
No, go ahead. You went
cut
out
out
there for a little
yeah,
bit.
you cut out for a little
Oh,
bit.
my bad.
So
My
can you
bad.
start?
No,
Can you start over?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, man. I was just over here tripping off the way you was breaking down how people don't actually invest back in it, or having when people do invest back in it, it actually needs to be like new stuff. You know what I'm saying? It has to be actual like for the housing around. You know what I'm saying? Or how the apartments actually go down and get destroyed and stuff like that. That was just, I don't know, man. Mind blowing, bro. It's just the way everything's set up. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I definitely think, that's one of the reasons why just development, continuous development, right? It's just like, and I'll shut up because I know Olay got something to say, is if you think about trees, right? Trees have certain seasons. They lose their leaves, they regain their leaves, they lose their leaves in the fall, right? And then they go into the winter where they're dormant. And then in the spring, there's growth. Now, this is the thing. You're supposed to actually go and chop off the limbs, especially the dead limbs, if you want abundant growth in the next season.
Pruning.
Yeah, you gotta go through that pruning process. And that's, we only have one plant in the house. I want more live plants, but we have one plant in the house, and man, that thing is sturdy. But because I sure don't take care of it. I put water on it like every once in a while, but I just go and clip off those little dead leaves, you know what I'm saying? And then put a little bit of water and keep it by the sun, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's the same thing when it comes to apartment complexes and this and that and the third, and even human lives, you know what I'm saying? Like, as human beings, we grow stale if we keep repeating the same things over and over again. And that's why educators are so important, and even these different schools and school options are so important, because right now amongst Blacks, right, homeschooling is skyrocketing. Homeschooling is skyrocketing. So a lot of people say, oh, it's the charter school. Nah, it's these parents who are sick of the typical education problem. You know what I'm saying? So because they're sick of the education problem, they have to go do something different, because again, you can't keep doing the same thing over. And that's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
But Olay, you were gonna say something.
Festus, be ready.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Earlier, Festus, you said if you don't know who you are, how can you sustain? And I thought that was a really powerful point. And it actually leads me to another question, which is, what's happening in schools right now? If you're paying attention to the news, even if you're not paying attention to the news, it's probably come across you from one of your colleagues, associates, friends, family members, talking about CRT, right? Talking about books being removed from libraries, right? Talking about, different issues as far as like, gosh, how can I say this? What's that? Pronouns and a lot of those things. What's happening, right? What's happening with this system, Festus, where so much is just being pushed? And, we even said that if you want to go back a little bit further, you said from the moment you wake up, every single one of your beliefs are being challenged, right? So where is that coming from? It's a twofold question. Where is that coming from? And I want to say where is that coming from and how do we navigate? But, if you look at it from an LYS standpoint, I guess, you talk about be no do, we've been talking about not compromising on your values, right? So if you have certain values, you don't compromise on those values, right? So, but before we get there, let's discuss more about where is this coming from? Where's a lot of this coming from? Because I'm ignorant to a lot of this myself.
So first, you have to look up the term social engineering, right? And why is that important? Is simply that if you don't know who is nearing, because people are built, right? There's a popular phrase from Frederick Douglass that says it is easier to form a man or to form a boy into a man than to reform a man, right? Basically, he was kind of saying, as people were coming out of slavery, right? it's easier to put into the child, hey, look, this is what we're going to do for the future, than to unravel the slave mentality from the former slave. And it's just a truth, man. We had a very powerful conversation, meeting I had yesterday, and we talked about it's almost better to be ignorant than to learn wrong, right? Because ignorant just means I lack knowledge. I just don't have the information. But if you learn it right the first time, right? Because you've learned it right the first time, you say, okay, no, this is true. This is right. This is the way it's supposed to be. But if you learn the wrong thing, then you have to unlearn what you have learned and then go and relearn something else. And oftentimes, the thing about knowledge is pride, right? When we feel like we know something, we feel proud of what we know, right? And so because of that, we don't want to unlearn, because that means I'm wrong, I'm ignorant. And that's one of the big things I've learned as an entrepreneur. It's like, you need to find out what you don't know and find out quickly, because that's what allows you to change and to grow, right? Yeah. So I love having like everybody talking about this entrepreneur spirit, right? But for people who feel like they have to know and have to be right about everything, and they can't admit that they're wrong, which a lot of times is these learned individuals who are so, and I'm doing air quotes for those who are listening to this later, they don't want to admit that, hey, I don't know what I don't know, or that somebody else knows something more than me. Yeah. And what ends up happening is it becomes very damaging, because a lot of what they're teaching about human sexuality right now is completely false. And all this gender talk and stuff like that is completely false. If you go study human sexuality, yes, gender happens on a spectrum, but usually gender is set in by the time a person like 6 or 7 years old. So yes, you're going to have a little bit of fluctuation early, because kids are still trying to find out like, oh, what they are, kind of stuff like that. And even the meaning and definition of these terms. And this is where, again, it's social engineering. Why is it social engineering? Because if you look at what's happening right now, those who are elite, and I just have to say, it's liberal democratic people. It's liberal democratic people. They challenge anything being firm and true. This is why they're talking about a recession, and they're like, well, we just changed the definition of what a recession is. Because if you constantly change the definition, nothing can be anything. This is and that is logical suicide. It is logical suicide. And it's sad, because you have people who are supposed to be educators who don't even know basic logical arguments and fallacies. Like something, well, bro, I don't want to get too much on the soapbox about this, but when you don't like, no, but when you cannot say a table is a table, when you cannot say that, how do you say where you eat? If the floor is a table, if a chair is a table, if a bookcase is a table, how do you say go to the table and sit down and eat? You literally break down the core of civilization when you do that. And to me, when a person, and to simplify the answer, it's truth, right? Truth with a capital T. Why is truth with a capital T? Because truth with a capital T is to a certain degree existentialist, but at the same time, it lines up with facts and data. You can't not have truth and then say you have facts and data as well, because facts and data shift based off of what people believe to be true. Because what a lot of people don't understand is belief is actually the most powerful thing in the universe, because we only act on what we believe to be true. Human beings only act on what they believe to be the most true thing in that moment, whether it is true or not. So literally you could take a person and drop them off in the wilderness, and if they think that, hey, this is the pinnacle of society, being in the wilderness, they're going to act like a wild animal because they believe that's the pinnacle of society. But anyway, with that, I'll digress. Truth, facts, being, knowing, doing.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Give me 1 second here. I think we just leveled up here. Give me 1 second here. I want to make sure everyone can hear this when I do this.
No, I'm tripping.
I love it. I love it. All right. All right. All right. Put that on the notes. Get a sound bar in here. We're going to get a sound bar in here. The DJ board in here whenever we drop in fire. All right, folks, real quick. Let me share my screen here. We got to go over some stuff real quick because we ain't gonna be dropping all this fire. We ain't gonna be dropping all this fire for the world for free. For free 99? No. Look here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me go back. Folks, if you are watching this right now and you are loving what you are hearing on Cash App, $ laddering your success. $laddering your success. You got $1? Give us $1, please. You got $5? Give us $5, please. $3, $2. You got $1,000 extra hanging around? You wanted to buy some crypto? Give it to laddering your success. You ain't got to give us the whole $1,000. You give us $1. That's fine. Give us something if you can. If you like what you're hearing, because I ain't gonna lie, Festus is out here dropping fire. Festus is out here dropping fire, ladies and gentlemen. He is out here dropping fire.
No, we are, and I appreciate the talk. Are we gonna do a week 3 of this? Or because it seems like we need to go.
It's good stuff. It's good. So yeah. Oh, we can most definitely, because I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that's a great idea. Actually, I want to play something here real quick.
Yes, please do.
I think I sent it to. I sent it to you guys. Or maybe you sent it to me, Festus. I don't even know. Let me make sure that we can hear it here. Give me 1 second. I need to stereo sound to make sure everyone can hear this. And I just want to hear, I'm going to read a little synopsis. I think that's actually what she said. Okay. That's what the young lady said, but let's take a quick listen of this.
All right. I've talked about what's currently happening, and here's what I think is.
And I paused it. Are y'all able to hear it?
Yes. Please play.
Yes. Okay.
All right. I've talked about what's currently happening, and here's what I think is going to happen next. The reason I think these things is because I'm a PhD student who's studying teacher attrition and the long-term impacts it's having on our field. Well, let's move on. Class sizes will be so large that individual teachers, either legally or physically or both, can't handle them. And so students are going to get pushed out into large group sessions that have a person who's supervising them. The person supervising them isn't necessarily going to be a teacher. Think more like a lunchroom monitor situation. And the students will be doing like a Khan Academy or otherwise online learning platform. This will likely take place in a cafeteria, in a gym, or just a really large classroom. And they'll be in there on their headphones and laptops learning and being supervised by a human. I'm using the word teacher lightly because it's really just going to be an adult in the room who maybe passed the background check. So school attendance will still be mandatory, but it won't truly be school. It won't be a place of education, fostering learning, supporting disabilities. So what you're witnessing is the absolute deprofessionalization of teaching and shifting it from a career to a gig industry. All right, I've talked about what's currently happening.
Okay, so there's a lot packed in what that young lady said, like a lot packed. I was like, whoa. So
I think we did share that. One of us shared it with each other because I think I've seen it. Yeah, we both.
Yeah. So just when I watched it, my mind went in so many places. I got really sad when I watched it. I was like, no, not these large classrooms where these kids are on these. But you can totally see it. It's like we're at this point. Sorry, I just want to say before you go, we're at this point where we can either go one way and slowly start to fix some of our issues, or it's just going to keep going in that, in that other direction.
So her comments, I think, are directly attributed to public education. And so I think this is why we're doing what we're doing here at Laddering Your Success. Okay, listen, especially if you're an educator, this is why we don't say teacher as much as we say educators, right? Because I think what's going to happen is that the definition of a teacher is going to broaden into an educator. And so you're going to have those who are degreed professionals, but what's going to have a tendency to happen with those is they're going to be highly sought after. And see, this is what people don't realize about knowledge and information. The people who are at the top because they pay for the knowledge and information. They seek after the knowledge and information. And that's something that for some reason, I have no idea why, but it doesn't set into certain people's mindsets. They think that, oh, everybody who does well is evil. And it's like, no, they're seeking after information. So what ends up happening is, imagine this, and this is true. The average person reads less than a whole book in a year, the average person. That means if you look at what they look at, magazine covers where they just read the title and all this other stuff, and you put it all together, the average person reads less than one book a year, right? But if you look at a person who's a CEO, on average, I think they read between like 50 books a year. So if you look at that year after year after year, the education of that person who's a CEO is going to be extremely higher than that person who's just, glancing at the cover of a magazine. And the reason why that is so significant is because that's what sets them apart, right? And what ends up happening is the more you know, the more your income tends to increase, right? Because you say, hey, look, I could go do this, I could go do that. I know this information, I know that information. And people tend to pay you more. This is why doctors get paid so well, because guess what? You know more than everybody else, and in some cases, and because of that, it makes you an expertise in health, right? And therefore, I'm going to pay you more because you're an expert. Same thing happens with knowledge, right? And so what you're going to see, and we've already started seeing, is the commodification of knowledge. We're in the information age. This is why if you go and you look at so many people, they're selling their online courses and online seminars because they're selling information. And that's where a lot of teachers are going to end up moving. Now, the problem is when you talk about having a general, oh boy, y'all got me hot today. Ooh, when you're talking about having a general knowledge base, literally being able to count, to read, to write, that general knowledge base is going to decrease in the general public. And we see that already. This is why everybody responds so much to clickbait, because they don't actually go into to really break down the information and the facts and the details. And they don't have a frame of reference for that information. So what happens is, if I have no frame of reference for the information, even though I might have a critical reasoning ability, I have no frame of reference to reason from. And it goes back to your point earlier, Olay, about where does this stuff come from? Who profits from your ignorance? That's what you need to look at. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just the capitalist that profits from your ignorance. In some cases, it is. In some cases, it is. But trust me, it's the government officials who profit from your ignorance the most. Because guess what? That keeps you dependent, and they're there to keep you safe and to protect you. And so what ends up happening, they end up protecting the institutions that they created. See, the real genuine capitalists, they can only really get you if you have enough need for what they're selling, for what they're pushing. And so they can lead you to be misinformed. All right. A lot of capitalists will lead you to be misinformed, but they don't want you to be fully uninformed. Right? They want you to know what's cool. They want you to look at what's cool. I was watching a video on this. It was a little Asian guy, and he was like, you don't know how to start a business? He said, go pick up a Bible, right? And this is what he said. Wait a second. Hold up. This is what he said. He said, they're called the 7 deadly sins for a reason. He says, why? Because they are the base of human nature. So gluttony, go sell something that's in line with gluttony. Greed, go sell something that's in line with greed. He said, because the base of human nature is not going to change. And this is the unfortunate side of things, is that we have a lot of people who are going into that base of human nature. I'll end with that, but thank you for the question. I know I just get so impassioned about these things. I'm sorry.
Hey, I'm about to be like that I'm about to be like that pastor in the church. Bring out that collection plate one more time. Bring out that collection plate one more time. Bring out that collection plate one more time. Hey, look. Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. Hey, Daniel said, "How you gonna end with that?"
That we gotta leave them. We gotta leave them wanting for more. So they gotta come back next week. Come back next week.
For sure. And you gotta have a drop the mic moment. That is how you drop the mic. I would drop this mic, but I ain't trying to buy another one. All right, look here. Laddering, $laddering your success on Cash App. $laddering your success on Cash App. Folks, we got an app out there. We got an app for teachers. We were just talking about what's going on with teachers right now. We are literally, you know what? We are literally going to change the way students and teachers approach education. We're literally going to change the minds of students. Professors, I don't know if you remember this. You compared a degree to actual degrees. So
yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Like an acute angle is kind of like a bachelor's, So an acute angle is any angle that's less than 90 degrees, right? And so, it's not all the way open, right? It's kind of like that. And then you can think of a right angle as like, maybe like a master's degree, right? Right at 90 degrees. So you have a certain level of understanding, right? And then think about that obtuse, right? Anything greater than 90 degrees, going all the way to a straight line, 180 degrees. And just having that understanding. See, those are those things, almost like those unwritten laws of understanding, right? It's a really beautiful thing, man, when you're able to impact that or put that into a child. Because I remember doing that for my students in class one day. And it just so happened we were learning about angles at that same time when we were talking about degrees in school. And when I showed it to them, they were just like, and I told them, this is your mind. Just imagine this angle being your mind, right? And it goes back to what you said earlier. I'm sorry, I was just so motivated by what you said. I'm not even want to talk anymore because we were supposed to end it already. So I ain't trying to talk no more. Nah, okay. So folks.
No, this is a good discussion.
It's beautiful discussion. Folks, for Daniel Hill, Philly Connect, for Festus and Olay, I am Olayinka Shorunke. Listen here. There are legitimate reasons to not going to college. There are no legitimate reasons, none whatsoever, to not getting an education. I hope you enjoyed this session of LYS Free Student Mentoring. We will see you next week. Peace. Be good. Oh, you still there? Well, thank you so much for listening to the LYS Podcast.